Okay. I didn't have to find the time of the source of this excerpt of this David Stern quote. I'm finna read you from 2007. I'm finna read it because I think this kind of defines David Stern, and I also think it's right because we're getting past the All-Star break where they celebrated the 75-year anniversary of the NBA. So it starts like this. Former Commissioner David Stern certainly understood after the league signed its 2007 national TV contract. Stern announced at the annual coaches meeting in Chicago that there would be TV cameras at the locker room. Former player and then Chicago Bulls coach Scott Skiles raised his hand and said something to the effect of, "No disrespect, but the locker room is my sacred space." I think most people can agree with that play sports. It goes on. Well, let's see the smiling commissioner begin. On the one hand, we have $8 billion from our broadcast partners, and on the other hand, we have Scott Skiles. Stern then lit into him telling Skiles to shut the F up, and that he didn't want to hear any more out of him. The room suddenly got very quiet. Stern didn't care what the coaches or the players wanted. Most were totally disconnected from the decisions that brought them their dollars. The day-to-day NBA folks just craved a path of least resistance outside of their already demanding primary job of winning games. But the commissioner didn't have that luxury of shrugging off the sports marketing side. Skiles wanted privacy. Stern wanted exposure. If your privacy, it doesn't pay the bills. Go ahead.
One, that sounds like David Stern, RIP to him. I mean, he was right. I mean, who is Scott Skiles to say, no, we shouldn't do this and turn down all this money that we're trying to get?
Right.
Which leads to, I mean, you talk about a $7 billion, $8 billion TV deal. Now, what they just got and what they about to get, it's going to be.
Yeah.
So he always had a vision. So I'm not surprised to hear that story. I like that he was firm about it. And I mean, it sounds like David Stern. Hey, not surprised.
I know I've seen a lot of people on Twitter replying to it saying, this capitalistic money over your workers. He didn't see them as equals in decision making.
They weren't equals. David Stern's a commissioner. He was there to run the league. He's not their equal. He's not their partner either. I mean, he is kind of their partner, but they aren't equals. Scott actually, he don't work for Scott Skiles now. Think about it. He works for the owner of the Bulls, so he works for the owner. So yeah, him and Scott Skiles aren't equals at all.
With that being said, it's fresh as is the Hoopers afternoon session. So of course,
real quick though, I can see people not liking that because we're in such an era now. And we ain't got to get on it too much, but everything is real touchy. You can't really be firm like that, or you gotta. Sometimes you need leaders to move with that type of. This is what we need to do and people are so spoiled now to, like, you can sit back and say that that's not cool now because they did it then to get us to the point now where people are comfortable. I saw Jalen Rose. Shout out Jalen Rose. I was listening to Jalen Jacoby, but just in a different type of way. He's like, players can load manage now because of what the players did before them did. So sometimes you got to make them decisions and say, this is what we're going to do. And this is the right decision.
So, I feel like not saying on too long, Kyle said, of course, it sparked up the conversation of just the difference between rights. No, that ain't workers' rights. Just the real difference between Adam Silver and David Stern, where you do have a group of people who's on David Stern's side with that firmness. Like, this is a business that, regardless of anything else, this is a business. This is how we make our money. To where Adam Silver is a little more receptive to players and coaches and owners, their opinions on different things as well. And I know some people said, honestly, they kind of blame Adam Silver for the player movement and player freedom thing, which is, in a way, is not that bad of a thing, depending on how you look at it. Like I said, we ain't got to get in that too long.
Player movement is on. Shout out to David Stern because I love the quote $8 billion and what Scott Skiles like. You ain't got no championships. Quiet down.
No, but like I say, we just moved past the weekend. Not the weekend, excuse me, but All-Star break, All-Star weekend. Yeah, and which they, of course, they celebrated the 75-year anniversary of the NBA by commemorating all the 75 anniversary players. We were a tad bit upset at first viewing of the celebration because we just thought they were getting the Blazers.
Yeah, and
they
got jackets.
And I didn't realize, I was seeing something, I didn't realize Jeff Hamilton, the designer, actually designed the jackets. He designed the 50th anniversary jackets as well. I'm pretty sure most of our viewers don't know who Jeff Hamilton is, but Cameron mentioned him in the song. Wow. That's why I know who Jeff Hamilton is. He did the jacket? Yeah.
Well, that's not surprising.
Very intricate, all of them one-of-ones and whatnot.
Yeah, because did you see, like, they had the patches of the teams you played for? So, like, Paul Pierce was fighting.
And you had to approve of the team. Like, he just couldn't put a team on there. They had to, like,
And so, shout out to everybody that recognized that I played for multiple teams. Paul Pierce had the Wizards, the Clippers, Celtics, and Brooklyn on his joint. So, that was gangster. And I need to see more people retweeting the picture of Ray Allen and them together, since everyone ran with the scene of KG or whatever.
Right.
KG. Paul Pierce posted the picture.
And
KG has retweeted multiple pictures that they took together and art of stuff like that. So stop running with the negative narrative and give them folks some credit, because I saw a few think pieces about it and people trying to break down the person that KG is. Right. Let it go.
It's done with. It's over with.
Yeah, so repost that picture. Shout out to the big three.
But do you like? Of course not. Well, not do you like this, because this is what the NBA is about. I feel like we've always said this: the NBA more than any other major sport celebrate their players and just anybody that's a contributor to basketball in general, especially for the NBA. But do you like these things though? Like, take some time out during the All-Star game. We can do this at halftime. Do you like this, and do you think this kind of gives another level of appreciation to the game, especially for the fans and whatnot that might not know these players? So now you can go back and you can kind of look up some of these players.
Yeah, it make the most sense to do, because, like you said, the NBA is the best at celebrating its players. We got a player as a logo. Like, we know who the logo is. The players the NBA has always led marketing with the players, so it's cool that when you get to the anniversary, you can bring the people back and let the new viewers see some of the older players. Mm-hmm. And even if you just get to hear their name, maybe you don't know their game, but just to hear their name, because all those players that we saw there, past players, is why the league is at where it's at now.
Right. So, like I said, just shout out to NBA for that. ESPN, of course, when you have things like this, we don't have to get all the way into it, but I feel like we should discuss it a bit. We can maybe talk about it on the radio show, but ESPN did put out their top 75 list.
Oh, yeah.
And of course,
we should have known that, because remember, people did it at the beginning of the year, so we should have known it was.
Not even surprised that it came. And of course, the thing that gets everybody is the top 10, because nobody's trying to read all 75 players unless you're just super interested in it and you just want to see what your favorite players at. But the top 10 goes this, starting from number 1, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell, Larry Bird, Tim Duncan, Oscar Robertson, Kobe Bryant, and of course, NBA Twitter was in a shambles once they saw Kobe at number 10, RP to Kobe. And I'm just going to say this. As a person who grew into a Kobe Bryant fan, especially once he turned, especially after Shaq left, I'm not surprised Kobe isn't in the top 5. I don't understand why we feel like, because we hear players say that played against him and whatnot, there's nothing wrong with Kobe not being a top 5 player. And I know, to your credit, as you always say, as long as Michael Jordan is number 1,
the rest of them. I think it could go anyway, because it's, first of all, the thing that caught me by surprise, when did Shaq get out of the top 10?
Which is what we're going to have our discussion.
Yeah, so that's what caught my eye. And then secondly, I knew people were going to freak out about the Kobe thing, because one, he passed 2 years ago. We're not that far from the date that he passed or whatever. So that has gotten people more up on it. Of course, players from his era always talk about how good he is. But if you go back to people in the 80s, they always talk about how good Larry Bird is. Like, you can't, to think that it isn't, after Michael Jordan, and I don't care what numbers you want to give me, after Jordan, and it's a big gap between, I retweeted my top 5 when they did the list, and I got Jordan, I put the big gap. They didn't even put the gap in there that I really put, because after Jordan, it's a big gap. And then after that, how is it arguments against anybody else? I personally think Magic Johnson is the second best player ever. And then I got LeBron third. But Kobe, I personally think he has an argument for top 6 or 7. But it's not crazy that some people have him slotted at 10. Whether he should have won more MVPs or not, he has one MVP. You do have the 5 championships that whole weight, but then once you get into the top 10, who don't got 3, 4 championships? Right. But that's where I get into Oscar, who Oscar is one of my personal favorite players. But that's why I would have Shaq in front of him because he probably out of that top 10, he has the least amount. And then you get into Wilt, and Wilt, you just can't deny Wilt's numbers. So wherever you got Wilt, you can't deny what he did. When a stat is broken, Wilt is probably in there in some type of way. So I personally, I don't really know where I got Kobe. I know he's in my top 10, but like I said, for me personally, Jordan's one, and after Jordan, it don't really matter. But I personally have always, I got Magic number 2, 5 championships, 3 MVPs, and just the way he controlled the game during the 80s. Bird was his rival, but Magic was the supreme player.
And I don't think there's nothing wrong with that either.
Like all these guys, when you get in there, MVPs, championships, all of it, because you're gonna be like, oh, Kobe got 8. Like I don't just automatically give some. Kobe has 18 All NBAs because he played 20 years in the league. Like Jordan didn't play 20 years, so Bill Russell didn't play 20. So I don't give the longevity awards. That's just not my thing personally. Right. If that's what helps pushes over for you, cool. But for me, it's just a matter of what you did, how dominant you were during your kind of prime. Mm-hmm. You always got to look at your eye test, and then the numbers obviously matter too. But you're gonna say Kobe should be who you taking out? Who's the top 5 again? I'm sorry.
Top 5. No, you good.
I think it was Jordan, LeBron, Kareem,
Magic, and Wilt.
All of them have multiple MVPs, multiple championships. Kobe has more championships than Wilt. Wilt has more MVPs than Kobe. Wilt has better career numbers than Kobe. What's wrong with any of them being in the top 5?
I would say this, that I, now taking the third and fourth look at it, I'm surprised they have Wilt in front of Bill.
I'm surprised at that too, actually, because that's shocking. That's that. Wilt being, because over the past few years, if you look up a top 10 list last year, the year before, it's probably different. But Wilt is usually, he's gotten a lot more love the last couple of years, especially since more people, when they break some of these records and they hear how rare it is, it's like, dang, they broke Wilt record, against Wilt record, so Wilt has been moving up a lot. But I gotta have Shaq in my top 10 over Oscar, because honestly, at this point, and when I first went to high school, I originally wore 14 because of Oscar. But I honestly, at this point, have Steph over Oscar. Honestly, Oscar is kind of right there with. I think KD's a better player, but historically, right now, I got Steph ahead of KD. So I kind of got Oscar like right there, Oscar or KD. Honestly.
And just with the Steph Oscar thing, I think at some point, it's a consensus that Steph is basically the second best point guard of all time. He kind of has to get Oscar's spot. Yeah,
I don't think it's as a consensus as people say, but it's.
I'm saying consensus because I hear more the majority. So that's why I'm saying consensus.
Yeah, but if he's the second best point guard ever, how wouldn't he be
in the top 10?
So, but Shaq is a top 10 player ever. So,
and just one more
Steph or KD get his spot.
And just one more thing on this, because it's the one that's two more things on this, because these are the two things that's kind of been. I don't know if it's we joking but we kind of serious, or we just trolling outright. Dave has done enough in his career. I don't care if you don't have him on top 75 or not, but we're not going to act like all NBAs and All-Star games and things like that don't matter anymore. Like we can't do that, because now we're diminishing every player. That like everybody doesn't get to win MVP. We seen Kobe average 32 and couldn't get a scoring title off of Iverson. Like things happen like that.
Dame is just an easy target because for some reason nobody likes what James Harden did, but they don't like that Dame won't force a trade. And not saying that I have Dame on my top 75 list, but I'm not mad that he's on there with. He's hit a couple of marks of being the fastest to do this as far as shooting. And with Dame, they clearly just looked at his game like they did when Shaq was on the original top 50 or whatever. But it's players that I've seen. If we're not talking about Dwight Howard, I don't care who else got left off that list. Don't bring them up to me. If the name ain't Dwight Howard, it don't matter. But I'm not mad at Dame for making the list. I probably wouldn't have him on there, but I'm not mad that he's on there. I'm not mad that AD's on the list. I don't have him on there, but I'm not mad that he made it. I could replace those two. But the thing I saw yesterday, and I'm not even gonna get too tough on him because I actually really like Tony Parker.
That's why I'm bring up
Tony Parker was never, ever better than Dame Lillard at no point in his career. In France, in San Antonio, in Charlotte, nowhere. Never.
He did play for Charlotte.
He did, exactly.
And he's also a scumbag, but I ain't gonna get into that because we're talking about basketball.
Tony Parker?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We don't even talk about that.
But basketball-wise, he's not better than Dame.
No.
He was a great player. He was a consistent all-star. He's a Hall of Famer. He's an international great player. It's not better than Damian Lillard. Yeah, never. No.
All right, so we've had some time to take in the All-Star break for all the highs and lows that it brings us and all the good and bad parts that it brings us. What did you like most about All-Star break this year? If you had to pick anything out of it.
Steph making 16 threes, basically. I was hoping that he would hit for 20.
Yeah.
Honestly, I didn't watch most of Saturday nights and stuff like that because I try and tune in sometimes, but I just don't really like the formats of stuff Saturday night, so I'm good on it. The dunk contest, I'll really only watch the dunk contest if it's a name that I want to see.
That's fair.
But I don't really care for the dunk contest no more because, I mean, we've seen what everybody could do, so that's why if it's a name that I want to see, I know that they're gonna bring some star power to it. That's maybe you can just say that's star player biasness, all-star biasness, whatever. But Jalen Rose, shout out to him the second time I mentioned him, but he's been real on. He wants to see players from the Sunday game participating in the Saturday night festivities, and I kind of agree with him on that. Some of the dunks that some of these people do, like we had a long conversation about LeBron and if he was in it and kind of his nervousness of not being in it. And it's like, you LeBron James, if you deliver, LeBron could do the simplest dunk. He could do everything Obi Toppin did. Shout out to Obi for winning. He could do everything Obi did or simpler than what Obi did. And people gonna go crazy just because it's like, dang, you see this man averages this, he does that, and he still got time to do this.
No,
so that's what changes it. It's like, to see, no disrespect, but to see Jalen Green go through the legs, it's like, what else you doing? Y'all ain't winning, so you might as well be done it. So that's kind of where that played a part in that. So I don't like the format of the rookie game anymore. I'm kind of over the 3-point contest. Even though I like the shooting when people get hot, but they really don't get hot, and it's more chances to get points. So they're breaking records when they got more. I'm not really a fan of that. You're not playing on the same
money ball.
Yeah, you're not playing on the same playing field, and they're still missing less shots than those people were making. But so I'm just not a fan of Saturday night. As we got into the Sunday game, a lot. I just be honest. I definitely like Steph. Steph's like the best player on the court. I think he's the second best player in the league, so it's not surprising because the best player in the league wasn't there. But Steph looked like the second best player on the court. But just
second best on the court?
I mean, he looked like the best player on the court. Excuse me, my bad. I was just talking about KD.
Yeah.
But just to be flat out honest, I like the end. I love the end of the game because you could tell they was playing hard in the fourth quarter. So I like that. I don't like the format. I don't like each quarter. I like that they're giving money to charity. That's what's up.
Keep that.
Yeah, keep that part. Figure it out. But I don't like this, and then we play the 24 at the end. I hate the gimmicks. Like, it's the NBA. I just want to see basketball. But honestly, I watched the game realizing how many players should be there that's not there for whatever reason. It was obvious. Missing KD, Kawhi, peak Anthony Davis, and I'm not even the biggest fan of him, but peak Anthony Davis. It looked different without them people out there, honestly. And I try not to compare everything I see now to what I watched when we were younger or whatever. But it's no secret that the players tried harder then than they do now. And the players mainly just pick time. I think Steph made people get into the game, honestly. Because LeBron was losing, and he was keeping them minutes. He was keeping them minutes. So that made it entertaining. But I just kind of watched it, realizing some of the players that I missed that shit. I shout out to everybody that made it because I don't want to make it seem like those people weren't deserving. No, sure. But it's obviously different not having KD out there, not having Kyrie out there, not having Kawhi out there.
James Harden, Paul George.
Yeah, healthy James, Paul George. I miss when they used to be able to do things within the game. Like T-Mac threw it off the backboard, but it wasn't because everybody moved out of the way and let him do it. It was, nobody's playing hard as far as like they're trying to win the championship, but people actually compete. It's a pickup game. And it's clearly just haven't been that the last couple of years. I've heard a few people say, former players, I kind of ended with that, where you could tell that, players just don't be motivated if they're not getting paid to show up to do it. They don't want to just represent the game just because they love the game. That's just my personal feeling on it. Maybe some people think I'm wrong, but that's just how I feel about it. That's how this felt. They're there because they got to be there. But the only person, not the only person, because I know LeBron like hitting that last shot, but the only person that really looked like he was happy to be out there, that really was trying to play basketball, was two people to me. Darius Garland, he brought the energy up early. And Steph looked like he was having fun shooting the ball, pulling it up. That's like LeBron 10 years ago when, oh yeah, I'm finna try some crazy dunk or whatever. So, sure. The ending was entertaining, but overall, I definitely went to sleep in the first half.
It is. I want to say this, like, I'm glad you brought up Darius Garland. I wish they would have let him. I feel like he was ready, but he wasn't ready because he was missing some shots that he making.
Darius Garland made it entertaining. He came in shooting, throwing lobs. He had the hop to him. Darius made it just wasn't entertaining at the beginning. Players don't even try to compete for it.
That's fair.
Maybe they want to be other places. I feel like I thought LeBron was gonna go for MVP. I feel like he kind of tried to initially, but it just wasn't there, honestly. And then he picked it up more in the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm. And I think with the format, how they do substitution, it doesn't really. The fact that Steph called a rhythm like that is crazy because the format don't really allow that. Yeah, I know it's an All-Star break, All-Star game, so you want to get players in, and certain times we give them enough minutes. But sometimes it feels like sitting them on the bench with the rotations kind of throw some players off. And once you're out of it, you can't get into it because you're not playing your regular rotational minutes as you would for your team in a regular season game. So I think that also plays a part into it. And just like you say, you have to want to be there to actually be, ready to go and ready to play and whatnot.
I wanted to see Steph make 23s, which he almost got. And I really wanted to see him to break the record because I hate that Anthony Davis had a record. Because him having, not that I hate that he has it, but the way he won it was so it was weak. They was in New Orleans. They just let him dunk. They gave him the record. Steph was shooting the ball like he was shooting it. And not like Trey was trying to lock him up, but he was putting his hands on him. He was shooting from deep. He just was pulling up. Steph was hunting his shots. So it wasn't like they was just, hey, just shoot this wide open shot. It wasn't like that. He was moving around. So Steph and Garland made the game entertaining. Shout out to Darius Garland.
Shout out to Jared Allen.
LaMelo Ball did. Him and DeJounte Murray did. Also, these are first timers though.
And I think a lot of vets, that's what certain vets they want to see those. Like they let the first timers do the grind work, especially in the first half, but also leads to that. And I want to say shout out to Giannis for not letting anybody get any stats. And I don't know if y'all paid attention to that first half, but he definitely was. It was a couple times where he could have called a lob from somebody and he didn't. And somebody could have gotten an assist off a bucket from him and he just didn't give him an assist.
One time LeBron threw him a lob. He missed the dunk, got the rebound, put it back. He was like, no, this is me.
Somebody else threw him a lob and in midair he kicked the ball back out to the corner. Like he wasn't trying to help anybody get their numbers in that first half.
I don't get any MVP and nobody's getting it.
Except
Steph because he's a fan of Steph.
No, so shout out to the All-Stars. Shout out to all the All-Stars, the ones that weren't there. But now it's time for the second half of the season. Not even the second half of the season.
We because we're about 25
games away from the playoffs. And of course, everybody's going to start getting their list together. MVP, Coach of the Year, Rookie of the Year. But we're not here to talk about that. What are your expectations for the second half of the season, and who do you expect? I know you said Dallas on the radio show you expect as a middle of the road team who can kind of pick up some slack. But who at the bottom of the playoffs outside of Brooklyn who's just waiting to get KD back do you see probably can make up some groundwork?
I mean, I didn't think about it the other day when we said it on the radio show. Shout out to nothing but that. But especially they've been playing well going into the break. But Boston for sure. It was only a matter of time before like they got fully healthy. Mm-hmm. Tatum and Brown really
picking up Derek White help.
I really like that pickup. They went and got Daniel Tice back. No matter what you think of him as a player, he plays well for Boston. Some people play well for certain teams. Like they play well for that city. And he plays well for Boston. So Boston isn't that many games out of first. Not saying they're gonna finish first because everybody in the East is not close. No, I'm just saying because everybody in the East is close. So they can win a few games. I think they're in 6 right now. I could easily see them finishing 4th, 3rd, in that range. But for sure, Boston. But other than that, like I said, in the East, you just waiting to see what Brooklyn look like. And then Philly is right there, too. Mm-hmm. So James is probably going to play. I don't know when the first game is. They start back Thursday, but I don't know when they play. But James will probably be out there for their first game. Sure. So it'll be – I want to see what type of chemistry Philly pick up real quick because I think they finally got what they got. Joel has always – he's clearly already taken to James. It seems like he likes playing with other great players like that. Like he did the same thing with Jimmy Butler, which is kind of interesting there. If I was a star player, seeing something like that, I would want to play with Joel because like James picks up, he's instantly on the court working out with him. One practice later, he's shooting the step back that, make a joke about it, travel or whatever, but it's crazy that he literally worked out with him, saw the move, and was like, I'm going to put this into my game and flipped it to that. Like, that's Joel.
Yeah,
Get somebody to come play with him. That's
I don't
crazy
think,
to me.
like,
that's insane.
I don't think
He
we ever talk
him
about
once.
I don't think people ever really get into Joel. I know we always mention, he just started playing basketball to this age.
Yeah, right.
But I don't think people ever really get into Joel Embiid's learning curve and how quickly he does pick up a lot of stuff on the basketball court.
But that just shows too, he's one of those. And Joe, I didn't give him credit when we talk about All-Star game. If Durant would have held on, he probably got the MVP because he was just unguardable out there, or whatever. And they tried to go to him in the end, but Jerry Allen played good defense on him. But Joel clearly has talent to be the best player in the NBA. I don't think that's saying nothing. That's not a hot take, right? He clearly has. I'm not saying he is the best player. He clearly got the talent to be that. But I just like that. He seems that, especially, you can tell he likes playing basketball. Like in an era where, of course, he low manages because he has his injury history, but he seems like he likes to play and he plays whenever he can. But as soon as they add these players who are all-stars, great players, MVP candidate, he like takes straight to them. It's like, I want to work out with you. Like, let's work out. Let's get on the court together. Let's do whatever. So I think that's a good look for Philly because he did take to Jimmy like that too, and he was upset when they lost Jimmy. So it's cool to see that he already liked James like that, and maybe they mesh well together, which would be good for Philly because if James kicks it into gear, you get your role players to do what they got to do. Philly got a good chance of coming out the East, especially with Joel playing how he's playing. Sure.
Just real quick, because I know Denver, who's a team that's kind of in that 6th, 7th range as well in the West. They're getting Jamal Murray back in March at some point.
That's what's up, because I just asked when he
coming back. Marcus Cousins signed a contract throughout the rest of the year.
Saw that too. Shout out to Boogie. I'm upset that Boogie got to keep fighting for his life to get deals, but shout out to him for getting a guaranteed contract for the rest of the year.
Do you think those two things, knowing you got a secure backup player like Boogie coming off the bench, and you got Jamal Murray coming back right around the corner, do you think those things can help push Denver up and a little higher into the standings, maybe close to the home court advantage?
Potentially, but the main thing I like is if Denver, which they're in 6, if they can just get that 5 seed and you get Jamal Murray back in March, which is next week, I mean, he can play depending on when he comes back. But like, let's say they get him middle of March, early to the middle of March. So first couple of weeks in March, he can actually get some games under his belt. Play 5 to 8 games, maybe 10 games, and then you go into the playoffs with him kind of in some rhythm. And then maybe he get a couple of the bad games out of his system. But now he's kind of in some basketball shape. That gives them a good chance of winning that first round matchup if they can get to that 5 seed.
Right. And of course, actually on All-Star game day, it was announced Chris Paul had a fracture in his thumb. He said he'll be reevaluated in like 6 to 8 weeks. Do you see Phoenix slipping at all with this, or they just keep moving and whoever's the star point guard plays Chris Paul is gonna do what they're supposed to do regardless?
I mean, it's a good chance for them to slip. We saw what Clay looked like in their last game, so he's starting to kick it into gear. I know that they probably thought that they had a track on Goran Dragic after, it was apparent Dallas wasn't going to go after another guard, and he goes to Brooklyn. So now you kind of leaning on campaign and the playmaker of Devin Booker. You just saw Javaron Carter, another solid guard. He just went to the Bucks. So, I mean, obviously they're probably going to play the buyout market just to pick up another point guard. I would just for security, but this is a good chance for Golden State to make a run at getting that top seed.
Hold on. I think this year, because of course, Utah's not having that success they had last year. Do you think this is a year Utah could probably fall out of that top 4 or 5 standings, especially with teams like Denver and Dallas kind of surging right now?
I can see it because how long is Donovan Mitchell about to be out, especially if he just missed the All-Star game. So, and the way Luke is playing right now, because Utah's third right now? No, Memphis is third, Utah's 4th. Yeah. So I could definitely probably see Dallas taking that spot, just with how Luke is playing, and then depending on how long Donovan Mitchell's out and what he looks like initially when he come back, they might be crying for Denver to get that spot, and that's how they get to that 5th seed or whatever. But it's definitely a chance, especially with Donovan Mitchell being out. Somebody's going to step up.
Right. No explanation One word answer. Lakers fully healthy, play-in team or secure playoff spot. Are they dangerous?
Yeah, they got LeBron. You gotta respect LeBron.
All right, other than that, you got anything else?
Now, this is always shout out to the viewers. Shout out to
Oh, my bad. Did Isaiah Thomas and Michael Jordan interact at all during this All-Star weekend?
I don't know, but it's funny because I don't know if they interacted during this because obviously Jordan's at the Daytona 500 first, and
Yeah,
then
he
was
missed the
there.
meet and greet, yeah.
Yeah, which is, I mean, clearly Daytona probably had something set up for him that Jordan lives in.
He owns the team.
Yeah, exactly. it makes sense for him being there. But he saw that car again, he had to cut it short. But like over the years, they've always been friendly in public. That's why. But whenever they, when it's something for some media and something get brought up, they talk about the 10 USA or the Last Dance. That's when some of the feelings come up. But I literally just watched a video last week of Jordan and Isaiah Thomas shooting backwards jump shots at the free throw line. Like, I feel like that beef is so overstated and it really kind of gets pushed. Obviously, it was some things Jordan didn't like about how Isaiah played the game. And I think Isaiah felt like he was not getting the respect that he should have got in certain ways. I don't know both of these guys, so I could be completely wrong, but I don't think it's a real problem between them. Like, people try to make it out to be or whatever. But I didn't see any pictures of them or anything. But since we're talking about pictures and Isaiah, I need Isaiah to answer why he cropped out all the Bay Area people. People just said that he cropped out Dame out of that picture of him in the point guards. But he cropped out Dame, he cropped out Gary Payton, and he cropped out Jason Kidd. Why you did that?
But of course, I know we all saw it. I know we supposed to get getting out here, but we finna get out here after this. But I know we all saw it. Jordan said he'll play Magic 1-on-1.
Well, get where your shoes at.
Everybody think Jordan. Magic them laughing.
Yeah,
I don't think Magic was laughing because
Magic wasn't laughing.
Magic knew he was serious and he was trying to I ain't gonna be there. You gonna show up to the gym? I ain't gonna be there. But no, we finna get out of here. So
George said, "Where you shoot? Hey, I play you right." You see, he don't want to play nobody else. That's why Magic second best player.
So dog, yeah, 1-on-1, me and you.
That's why he's second best player ever. Jordan don't care about nobody else.
And you, Starbucks.
But speaking of that, though, it was cool to see because obviously there's some current players that's still playing. So yeah, so like I saw a picture. It was like it was Kawhi and Iverson. They've met before, but it went into detail about how I didn't realize that Iverson was Kawhi's favorite player ever. So like they got to interact, and then
all the group shots.
I like the Laker picture. It obviously was missing Kobe, but the Laker picture with Kareem, Jerry West, Shaq,
Magic.
Right, Magic. It was cool to see James Worthy. They were all in that. So it was cool to see the people, all the different.
Shout out to James Worthy.
Right.
My guy right
like got to see shots of Dr. J, Jordan, LeBron and Jordan talking, stuff like that. So
he all the group photos with the teams and positions, big man, point guard.
But he was leaving some photos I saw, and I was like
they know each other,
right? Like that one. I can't remember who all was there, but this is the conversation. Like one is like Jordan, Jerry West, Dr. J, Dominique, right there. And then like behind him is like LeBron. So it's like two different conversations. But it's like these dudes is back to back. It's like LeBron, Melo, somebody else from that era. So I'm like, what is the conversation?
I'm pretty sure they got the picture out there, but of course they tried to get the banana boat crew picture with LeBron.
They got one.
Steph was in the picture too. I'm pretty sure they got one without Steph.
Yeah, I saw one without. I saw one without.
So shout out to little stuff like that. Like I said, that's what the NBA is for.
Yeah, you had to get it.
And like I said, the NBA.
Did Chris Bosh make the 75? No, right? Was Chris Bosh on the 75?
Somebody let us know on Twitter.
Because I don't remember if he was there. And if he wasn't,
at Hooper's Pod.
If he wasn't,
at Hooper's Pod, let us know.
Stop hating on Chris Bosh. Stop hating on Dwight Howard.
Get us out of here before we jump.
But for sure. Shout out to everyone that's tuning in, everybody that listens to the podcast. Shout out to the Off the Ball Network for providing a platform. Make sure you check us out every Monday, Nothing But Net channel through the Dash Radio app, 3 o'clock. Of course, you catch us here every Wednesday for the Hoopers Afternoon session. Anywhere podcasts are available, just search the Hoopers Pod. Go to the YouTube, subscribe to the page. If you got a YouTube, send it to us so I can subscribe to the page. And other than that,
John W.
Fresh X.
And we out of here.